Everyone, thank you for joining us from the Click and Beyond. We are excited to give you some strategies on A/B testing and hopefully give you some actionable items that you can walk away with today and implement into your own strategies. Today we have Jess Armstrong from Wordstream and Tomas from KISSmetrics. We're both excited to have you both and look forward to hearing everything that you guys have to bring to the table today. So to kick things off, we like to start with a poll. So if you would, please let us know how often you are A/B testing your campaigns currently. Wow, it looks like an overwhelming amount of you aren't A/B testing, so that's awesome. You'll have a lot of things to learn from today's session. Hopefully you'll be taking some notes, and I'm going to go ahead and kick it off here. So without further ado, let me introduce Jess Armstrong. Jess, welcome.
Hi, thanks, Noelle. Hi, everyone. My name is Jess, and I work here for Wordstream. I've been with Wordstream for about 7 months now. And I just thought I'd start off by telling you all a little bit about myself. I'm a customer onboarding specialist here at Wordstream, which means I help get people ramped up in our software and provide insights for PPC, best practices, etc. I'm a graduate from UMass Amherst with a BA in economics, and I am a huge foodie. I love to travel, and I'm a former gymnast, so I'm constantly upside down and full of energy. If you'd like, during this webinar, you can tweet me at Jess_Armstrong_. And again, we have a hashtag, which is hashtag Beyond the Click for today for our A/B testing. Noelle, can I have mouse control?
Yep, you should be good to go, Jess.
All right. It's not changing.
Okay, there you go.
There we go. Okay, so I just want to talk a little bit about what I'm going to cover before I hand you guys off to Tomas. I'm going to talk specifically about A/B testing in PPC. Why PPC? Well, personally, that's my specialty, and I'll give you a couple reasons later on as to why it's important to test in PPC. Still having trouble changing the slides, Noelle. Okay, so let's talk about I want to talk about what makes a worthwhile test, creating that fail-safe A/B test, and then 3 A/B tests to consider. So I'll leave you with 3 actionable A/B tests. Okay, so first I want to talk about, why PPC? Well, there are lots of different A/B tests out there that you can test on your conversion funnel, but PPC is especially exciting because there's no setup cost. I mean, if you're testing, your home page or your landing page, sometimes that can be very costly, but to set up a test in AdWords, there's no additional cost to setting up an A/B test except for the budget you've already allocated to PPC, and that the data is already there for you. You already have everything you need kind of collected for you and put right there by AdWords or Bing or whatever sort of PPC platform you're using. And it's going to give you insight to those people who have the highest commercial intent, those people who are most likely to just slide right down that funnel. Noel. I'm sorry, guys. It looks like we're having a little bit of technical difficulties.
Sorry about that, guys. Jess, we should be good to go. I'm just going to keep rolling through with you.
Okay, that's good. So first I just wanted to talk about what makes a good test and what makes a worthwhile A/B test in PPC. People tend to want to test, the trivial things, a keyword here and there or something like that. And what I want to tell you basically is, you need to ignore the trivial things here. If you go on to the next slide, I'll show you a graph. And so the small things might yield like some positive results. You can see some gains, initially. This is an A/B test we ran a couple of years ago, changing a picture on our landing page. And it did cause a spike in conversions. The test is the line in blue. But over time, as time went on, that small gain that we did make initially just flattened out over time. So you only get small gains from small changes. Another thing that you don't want to test is obvious problems, especially all of you data junkies out there. You always want to have the data to back up a change that you want to make, and an A/B test seems like a great way to do that. But in fact, it's not necessarily the case. I mean, you'll save yourself a lot of time and hair pulling if you just fix the obvious problems rather than test them. Save everyone the hair pulling. So then the question is, what is a worthwhile test? And I'm going to use a great analogy here, and it's the mountain analogy. I heard it first from Tim Ash, he's the CEO of Site Tuners, and I just think it's so perfect for how people kind of get stuck with A/B testing. If you see that mountain in the front right side, if that's your starting point, that's your funnel, and you're trying to get to the peak of conversions for you, and you do all these tiny optimizations, you might get to the top of that mountain right there, but you need to really think of it as, a huge, wide mountain range, and there are a lot bigger peaks much farther away that you should be targeting. So rather than trying to make it a few steps up a tiny mountain, you should be shooting for that, far out mountain with the highest peak. And it's very difficult to do that way, but, for the best A/B tests and the best changes that you could be testing are these big, giant changes. So exactly, you want to aim for results that are, 200 to 300 times better than you're doing right now, not 2 to 3 times better than you're doing right now, not 2 to 3%. So, you're aiming for giant spikes in conversions that you come, grow your business dramatically, not that 2 to 3% that doesn't make a huge difference. And it's definitely a team effort. You should be thinking outside of just you doing a test in PPC or whatever A/B test you're doing, or even outside of your marketing team. I mean, it should be a larger business decision, and you should get, sales involved and finance involved, and really see, what you can pull together. All right. So now I want to talk about creating that fail-safe test. And one of the hardest things I think people run into when creating tests, especially in PPC, is defining the metrics and the goals for a successful test before they start. There's so many metrics in PPC that you can look at. It's really important to prioritize ahead of time, and I'll give you an example of that in the next slide. Here we have two graphs. The test is in green and the control is in blue. You'll see total conversions by week on the left, and you see the test blew the control out of the water. It got like almost double the amount of conversions that the control had been getting, which, you know, obviously sounds really exciting. But then over there on the right, you see your average CPA by week. The control wins. The CPA is a lot lower. And for those of you who don't know what that is, that's cost per action. So basically the cost for a lead or some sort of conversion. You can see it costs a lot more for each of those conversions that you're getting. So, you know, what's the winner? And it's hard to tell unless you know your budget and your constraints. Maybe you don't mind paying more for leads if you can double them, but that's something you want to know ahead of time so you don't get stuck here determining who the winner is when you didn't set it beforehand. And another thing you want to consider when setting up that fail-safe A/B test is quantity versus quality. So I'll give you a Wordstream example here. You know, when we started off and we were a relatively young company, we started off like most SaaS companies with our call to action was, you know, a free trial. That was our draw-in. You know, you can try it for free for 7 days and see if you like it, which is great because those people who then tried those 7 days, they're clearly like very invested and very qualified at that point. They're a little farther down the funnel, but the volume was typically pretty low. So what we did some market research and figured out that what people are really looking for is, you know, a way to test their account. So instead, what we did was we offered this free grader. So it's not completely aligned with what our core service is, but it is a drop-in, and we gave a lot of people what they were looking for free, and we're able to capture their information and, you know, determine who really is like the best for our market. So what happened with this grader is it pulled in a ton more leads, but then, you know, the caveat is you actually have to sift through all of those and actually find the ones who are really qualified leads for your business. So again, you know, when you are trying to draw leads or conversions through PPC or any A/B test, you need to know whether it's quantity you're looking for or quality, and which one is the winner in your case. In our case, the grader provides so many valuable insights. We chose the grader. So definitely save yourself the frustration, you know, plan this out ahead of time because it will save you a lot of hair pulling when your test is over. All right, and so then the next point for creating this fail-safe A/B test I want to mention, you know, obviously, you know, if you think of smarter goals, you need to set a timeline and then stick to it. Again, I pulled up this graphic here on conversions. You know, if you have a conversion threshold, an A/B test length that's too short, then you can run into issues because it will, you know, you won't see those long-term trends where, like in this case, it flattened out. Again, and then if you run it too long, a test that lasts 6 months or even 4 months is likely to have gone through 2 major U.S. holidays if you're in the U.S., and that can cause crazy, drastic spikes in performance. So set a date, find that sweet spot based on your traffic and you know, how much information you need to gather, and then stick to it. I think that's really the most important part and kind of the hardest part, especially if the results aren't super clear over time. And especially with PPC. With PPC, it's, you know, it takes a while for AdWords to trust you as a user and lower your cost per click if it's performing well and really build up that account history to support that data. So set a timeline with a good window that works for your business and then stick to it. Okay, and then lastly, I just want to talk a little bit about choosing in a tie. I get this question all the time, and it is hard sometimes, especially if you're going for smaller optimizations. If you have a tie or you don't have a clear winner, then it's like, should I just leave the test running? Should I? No, we set that timeline. You want to stick to it. But what I would suggest, if you are in a tie and you are stuck, you know, consider it internal reasonings. You know, like maybe the numbers don't make a difference either way, but if there's, you know, one's more practical than the other internally or more scalable, consider those internal factors, and that can sometimes help you decide. Okay, and then lastly, set up a safety net. If you aren't remarketing in PPC already, you should. A lot of people who are worried about making big changes and testing in PPC, it's because they're afraid of losing conversions to that test or not gaining the conversions they would have gained from just switching over wholesale. Remarketing is a great safety net for that, to catch those lost conversions you might have missed during your test. And users are twice as likely to convert after seeing your ads multiple times. So, if someone visits your site and leaves, that's okay, because you know that you're going to continue marketing to them in the future and you can bring them back to your site. Okay, so lastly, I'm going to leave you with 3 A/B tests to consider for PPC and in general for your workflow. So the first one is to change your call to action. And again, this is kind of the one I talked about for our Wordstream example with the grader versus the free trial. It's a huge business decision. I mean, setting up a grader requires resources from engineering and finance to find those resources, and sales to market that, and marketing to really push it out to the masses. So it should be a huge business decision. You can consider changing it on your landing pages, in your marketing campaigns, and in your ads in PPC, and see what works best. And really think about, what's going to make them, engage with you as a business. Okay, and the next one that I would suggest everyone who's doing PPC try is test a mobile strategy. Some businesses, when they use a mobile strategy, see huge success and increases in conversions. And these are companies, typically that are in sort of emergency services or local services like plumbing or sewage or those sort of things where you really, if you can get them on the phone, you got a deal. So testing a mobile strategy for those businesses could be valuable to see if it really does increase those conversions. And then on the other hand, others don't. I mean, I don't know how many of you have gotten on your phone and found something you want to buy and then gone through all of the steps to fill out your shipping address and your billing address and your credit card information and all the other information that you're asking for on your phone. People, especially in e-commerce, are significantly less likely to convert on mobile. So maybe testing out a bid modifier where you decrease your bids on mobile so you don't show up or show up less often might be valuable for you, but you don't know unless you test it. So some things to change if you do decide to A/B test mobile strategies in PPC. In AdWords, they have this thing called experiments, and if you're interested, just a quick Google search will show you how to set it up, but it will allow you to split your impression share among 2 ad groups or 2 campaigns so that they're not competing against one another directly. And things you'd consider changing would be, your mobile bid modifier, creating mobile-friendly text ads, kind of a shorter text, creating those call extensions, and directing them to mobile-friendly landing pages. All right, and then lastly, the last one that I'll leave you guys with before I pass it off to Tomas is to change your flow. Think about where people are on your funnel and where they're falling off, and then change it. So the example I have here, it was for actually a software company, and what they did was they offered, a free download. And before you could download that software for free, you had to put in your name and your email, your phone number, some information about your business. And what they found was, a lot of people were falling off right there. They didn't get through the form because it was so long and so extensive that they didn't actually complete it to actually get to the download. Even though they were interested in it, they fell off before they actually, pulled that free download in. So what they did was they changed their flow. They let you download the software first, install it on your computer, and then when you open it up, it says, wait, please register the software, and then you have to give all that information. And what they found was people are much more invested in it once it's already on their computer. They're much more likely to take those extra steps to fill out that form, and they got a huge increase in leads. All right, so then I'm just going to leave you guys with a few takeaways. I'm really excited, and hopefully you guys have had some questions by now, and I'll definitely answer those at the end. But the key takeaways that I hope to have left you with, are think big, aim for those big increases in conversions, and how important it is to really take the time to plan out your A/B tests, especially in PPC. It takes time, and it takes, immense collaboration, so set those goals clearly ahead of time. It'll save yourself a lot of pain and frustration. Capture those lost conversions with remarketing, and that's for A/B tests, but that's for anything in PPC or just traffic in general. If you haven't set up a remarketing campaign, I highly recommend you do that. And then those 3 tests to try, which is change your call to action, test those mobile strategies, and then change the flow it takes to get to your conversion.
Awesome. Thank you, Jessica. Those are amazing tips, and I know that many people will benefit from that. So, without further ado, I am going to toss this over to Tomas. All right. So, welcome, Tomas. Hopefully you can click on this. I had one question. So you have a beautiful family, right? But I saw, are you a Bills fan, or what team are you actually a fan for? Tomas, are you there? One second, guys. Hey, Tomas.
Hey, I was muted there.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, I'm from San Francisco, so I'm a huge Niners fan. Yeah, and just had a newborn. She's 5 months old, so very excited. It's first daughter, first kid, basically. Yeah, I'm really excited to be a part of this webinar. I'm Tomas, Director of Marketing at KISSmetrics. If you guys have any questions or you want to follow on Twitter, it's TB Cali. I actually went MIA for several years on Twitter, so I'm kind of slowly starting to get back into it. So I should have control. Get started. Okay, perfect. I think I might hit space button too. Okay, cool. So I'm actually going to do this in 3 parts. I'll just quickly go over how we A/B test here at KISSmetrics, and we do this process regardless if it's through PPC or you're just testing landing pages, onboarding processes, etc. Then I'll actually get into the meat of it and actually show a perfect example of why we just don't look at click conversions when we A/B test. And then I'll end it off with quickly just covering why it's so important to keep a pulse on your funnel. The first section, I'll go over how we A/B test at KISSmetrics. We set a goal, baby steps, aim for statistical significance, never lose sight of data, look away for 1 week. The first part is set a goal. Sounds really simple, but it's actually really important. You have to think, what is it that you're trying to improve? Increasing conversions is your immediate goal, but what if you simply want to drive traffic, say, to a specific landing page? And if you do want to drive traffic to a landing page, what is the result that you want out of that? There's a big difference between purely wanting to drive people to a page versus driving people to that page so they place a new item into the cart to purchase. And simply saying that you want to see the effects of changing out an image is a very loose way of setting a goal. What is it that you're really trying to change? Is it reducing page abandonment by making changes to your homepage? Is it increasing conversions if you're A/B testing multiple PPC ads? You basically need to set a benchmark versus saying you just want to see the effects. Baby steps. This is actually a picture of my daughter's feet. So I actually see this mistake made on a consistent basis, and it's completely understandable. People want to move the needle and see results fast. So we kill one bird and move on to the next, and the next, and the next. But let's take a hypothetical situation. You don't think your homepage is resonating with visitors, so you make big changes. You change the headline, you change the image, you change the CTA, and launch it as a variant testing against the original. The variant slightly underperforms, but if I came to you and asked why, can you say with 100% confidence of why it underperformed? What if it was because of the headline? What if it was because of the image? Did the CTA have any influence? So this is why it's so important to test each element, especially if you're testing changes to a landing page or a home page. Now, granted, there will be instances where you just need to make changes, but even then, I would say run smaller tests rather than nothing. And there are always opportunities to perform multivariate tests in which multiple variables are modified, but it's much more difficult to hit statistical significance, which is the next point I'll get into. So what is statistical significance? This is actually the confidence that the same results can be expected if the same test is ran again in the future, or in other words, it will test how confident you can be of the results. This kind of goes back to what was stated is set a timeline. If you set a timeline, usually it allows you to hit that statistical significance. And if you don't aim for this, you might be running a test with a very small sample size. In a sense, as a joke, I mean, size really matters in statistical significance. Is it 42 or 51 responses is enough to tell you what will happen, the next time another email is sent out, or is 10,000 visits to your website enough to tell you that the headline will continue to have the same effects to the rest of the visitors, regardless of the month or time? If you do have an A/B test platform or a tool, and that doesn't provide a statistical significance, there are multiple calculators out there. One of it is getdatadriven.com, which is on this slide. I think I actually had slides flipped around, but no worries. So this is kind of a KISSmetrics, and that's we look away from the data during A/B tests for about a week. Whenever we launch a test, it's pretty common for results to bounce around the first several days. You have to think, was it launched at the tail end of the month? Was it launched during the weekend? The timing could be a slight influence, so it's good to at least give it, several days. We usually shoot for a week, but allows you to get enough of that sample size and definitely get closer to that statistical significance. And plus, if you see poor results right off the gate, it's really easy to hit the panic button. And next slide. Yep. Never lose sight of data. We can. I mean, I personally can get caught up on this all the time on what I think, or we think, is the best way to optimize conversions or traffic. So it's really easy to pull the trigger on what we think is instant winners, or just because it's worked for somebody else, it's got to work for you, right? I can't tell you how many tests we've ran where we think, yep, this definitely makes sense, and it will, without a doubt, make an impact, only to find out later that we actually took a significant hit in conversions. Data doesn't lie. You'll have some losers that you thought would be winners, or even make some bad mistakes along the way. But the goal is to always look at ways to optimize, and from time to time, you'll have setbacks. But with that data, hopefully you'll be able to learn something. All right. So this kind of takes me to the second section, and this is actually a test I ran a while back. Now, at KISSmetrics, we A/B test everything from PPC. We're always making changes to landing pages, even for our webinars, the way that the landing pages, the way that we follow up in KISSmetrics. We A/B test everything. So at one point, running a campaign, I actually pinned one of our new landing pages up against an original from several months ago, just to really hit the head on the nail that it's really important to not just look at click conversions at A/B testing, and I'll show you guys a perfect example of why. So this is the original landing pages. It's simple, it's clean. Actually, in fact, this landing pages has been highlighted in multiple blogs for the simplicity. And this is the variant. Still simple, but just has a little bit of information in terms of what the product brings, or the benefits that it instills. So, initially, the first kind of metric that you want to look at, or instinctively that we look at it, is signups. So again, the original was the really simplified page. The variant was the page that had a little bit more substance on it. But as you can see here, when we look at just signups, the original blew the variant out of the water. We actually ended up seeing more than double the amount of conversions, and the original had a little bit over 1,200, versus the variant only had 550, close to 550. We did hit that statistical significance. So at this point, in most cases, people will look at just at click conversion. So it's very easy to say that the original won here. So we'll stick with the original, and we'll look at other ways to run other A/B tests. And to kind of give you an idea how the funnel kind of works at KISSmetrics, and why we look at in the funnel beyond just click conversions, is that when someone signs up and when they get into our application, one, they do have a 14-day free trial, but at that point, that individual needs to install a JavaScript before they can use our application. Once they do install that JavaScript, they have to implement custom data. And usually at that point, when they start to implement custom data, there's a pretty high correlation of when they become a sales opportunity. And if you're familiar with Salesforce, sales funnels, once they become an opportunity, it normally leads to SALs and hopefully closed deals. So going back to the A/B test and looking at the signups, we can start to look at, okay, from those signups, how many individuals actually installed the JavaScript? The original 208 compared to the variant 191, so off by not that much. And if we were just to look at the results from installing the JavaScript, you'll notice that the statistical significance is not at 100%, because the conversions here are pretty close. So if you did want to hit that statistical significance, we'd have to run this test for much longer. If it does get to a point where there's a tie, again, normally we dump the variant and we go with the original. But my goal during this point was not to look at the how many people installed the JavaScript. Again, I'm looking further down the funnel. So at that point, I look at how many people actually start implementing custom data. And this is where you start to see the significant difference. The variant now actually is winning against the original. So at this point, one can say that the quality of the leads is much stronger. And if we look at the statistical significance, we're 100%. So we could say with confidence, if my goal was just to look at our A/B testing, the quality of custom data, or the amount of leads that are going through and instilling the custom data, I could say with confidence that the variant. But again, my goal at this point, even further, is not to look at the custom data. I actually want to look at how many opportunities were created from the very top of the funnel, which was click conversions. So how many opportunities were created? And as you can see, the variant, again, 65. So if you look back at the original signups, the original had more than double the signups. But when you look further down the funnel, the variant definitely created more opportunities. So if we were just able to double those signups compared to where the original was, the opportunities created would definitely blow the original out of the water. Even at this point, it is. And again, the improvement by 70% and the statistical significance is at 100%. And ideally, I mean that's what companies strive for is revenue. And what allows us to hit that benchmark is the quality of leads. So this really is a perfect example of why you just can't look at clicks. And every organization is different. Your funnel is not going to look like KISSmetrics. So at those point you can look at retention rate. If you have e-commerce, you can look at the behavior in terms of cart behaviors. So I mean every organization is different, but again, you could walk blindly when running an A/B test if you're really just looking at trial or click conversions. And you can kind of look at this in terms of just even PPC ads or in this example, I ran multiple social PPC ads. This is a funnel report in KISSmetrics. The ad up top, it's a Twitter, and you can see that the amount of people that actually signed up was 645, but the amount of people that actually started receiving custom data, it's nowhere near compared to the ad down below, which is the LinkedIn. Much less people that signed up, but the quality is much stronger. And again, you have to factor in the cost of the ads, and ideally that would get you into figuring out the ROI. But in this state, the prices aren't that much different. I mean, granted, yes, LinkedIn is a little more expensive, but at this point, at this test, the LinkedIn just created much more opportunities, and on the ROI was much stronger. So again, even when you're running PPC or social ads, it's key to look beyond just clicks, because clicks don't really necessarily evolve to good quality leads. And then this takes me to the last point, keeping a pulse on your funnel. It's just kind of like the funnel that I threw up. It's key to A/B test beyond just web pages, as you can A/B test multiple items throughout the funnel. So again, I'll throw up the kind of how our funnel works at KISSmetrics. From sign up to individuals installing the JavaScript. Can you A/B test here? Yes, of course. Can you increase the amount of how many people install JavaScript? That could just be a matter of how you educate the users. And then even going beyond that, we can definitely A/B test here between install JavaScript and how people install custom data. Can we improve, this requirement out of our users? Yes, of course. And then at KISSmetrics, we run multiple A/B tests, even within this funnel. And then from custom data to opportunities, there's multiple ways that we can improve conversions here through email drip campaigns, app notifications, etc. So even just aside from A/B testing from just the homepage, there's multiple ways that you can A/B test within the funnel itself. And what are ways that we can improve the funnel? Quite simply, see where the bottlenecks are, or the roadblocks, or significant drop-offs, and then learn why. And the ways that we learn why through KISSmetrics is the most obvious topic at hand is we run multiple A/B tests, so we're allowed to see if that has an influence. But we also learn about kind of the journey that our customers take. But aside from that, we definitely send out surveys. And it's important to make those surveys quantitative if you can. And then what's really valuable, or what I see a lot of value in, is through usability testing. Get a first-time user and actually watch their behavior as they go through a new process or an existing process. So you really get to see firsthand, the behavior of the user going through, top of the funnel all the way to the end of your funnel. And that takes me to the end of my section.
Awesome. So thank you, everyone, and thank you, Tomas and Jess. That was great information, very valuable to our users. We do have some questions from our audience, so I'm just going to kick it off with the first one. So either one of you can jump in, or both of you, but the first question is, how can you test PPC budget? Some recommendations that you have for that.
I'm sorry, Noelle, can you repeat the question?
Sure. So our audience is wondering, how can we test with smaller PPC budgets?
Yeah.
So any specific strategies you have around that would be awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. That is a question that we get very frequently. If you're not driving a ton of conversions, getting that statistical significance can be really difficult. And one thing that I would suggest that you look at is micro conversions, which is basically different levels of engagement. If you can't test for conversions or something that's because of a small budget or whatever you're testing for, check for things that are close or that lead to a conversion. So, for example, if you have analytics set up in PPC, then that can be really helpful. You can look at how many people are visiting multiple pages or spending more than 2 minutes. So look at numbers as well as conversions to help give you a little bit more of a boost in deciding.
Yeah, I just add to that. I mean, if you have a small budget, I think at that point it's really key to have a pulse on your funnel. And I think the more PPC ads that you test, the less of the sample size that you'll have for each ad. So, I mean, if your budget is really small, it's probably at that point it's good to test a few sample of ads versus expanding it to 10, 20, or 30 different ads.
Awesome, great insights. And so our second question is, how do you recommend running A/B tests for campaigns that run for 10 to 15 days? Is there any strategy around shorter time frames versus longer time frames, and what is your consideration to that?
I'll answer that. I mean, when we test, or when I test, I don't necessarily base it off of days. Again, I mean, we're really stingent on but I mean, again, it also kind of depends on how much traffic those ads are running. So normally the higher traffic, the quicker you'll hit statistical significance. And I could say just through trials, that could take us with PPC could take a week. running specific home pages, you know, we always want to be confident that the changes that we're making are going to be consistent no matter what time we're running those. So I usually, even when I hit statistical significance early, I usually like to strive for a really high sample size. So more so, I mean, I look at sample size and statistical significance versus actual time spans or days.
Yeah. I mean, if you do have a set 15-day window, just to jump onto that, I would say make sure the time frame that you're choosing is similar to, you know, a normal sales time for you. So, for example, like you wouldn't want to put that 15-day window right over Christmas and New Year's, because those are going to pull in a bunch of different anomalies that you probably wouldn't see during your normal sales cycle.
Awesome. And then just one final question for our panel. How often do you recommend that users A/B test? You know, is it campaign specific? Should it be on every campaign? Should it be weekly? Like, what is your basic recommendation?
I can answer that first. We A/B test everything, especially when it comes to PPC. I mean, the point is just be able to optimize. I mean, even if it's AdWords, I know when we run our AdWords campaign here, always start off with multiple ads, because the goal is just to be able to piggyback or optimize off those ads that are generating not only, again, the most click conversions, but are evolving into good quality leads.
Awesome. All right, well, that is all the time that we have. If anyone wants to pop in with one additional question, I'm just going to let everybody know we will be sending out a recording of this during a few technical difficulties. We're glad to have you all with us today, and if you have any further questions, feel free to reach out to Tomas or Jess via Twitter. Their handles are below. And I think that's it, guys. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, Tomas. Thank you, Jessica. We really appreciate all of your insights, and have a wonderful week, everybody out there in the world.
Oh, it was great being here. It was great talking to you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.